Romanticism is an artistic and literary movement that took place primarily in Europe from 1750 to 1850. It countered the Enlightenment neoclassicism's emphasis on reason, order, literature, and structure. There are values of imagination, freedom, feeling, emotional exploration where the creative powers of the human mind become equal to that of God. These are all themes One Piece embodies and waves as its Jolly Roger. This is where ideas of the self and symbolism, myth, nature, relativism, paradoxical combinations, and especially prioritization of the individual are not only embraced, but challenged. Under the umbrella of Romanticism, we can identify three types under the subgenre of landscape, which classify each visual way art can be interpreted on an emotional level. First, we have the beautiful. In the 18th century, theories were held that beauty was the result of proportion, utility, and perfection. Philosopher Edmund Burke believed beauty was perceived emotionally. It's comprehensible to the mind, evoking familiar experiences, and thus promotes pleasurable feelings. Beautiful objects need no underlying concept or purpose. Then there's the sublime. Burke differentiated the sublime from the beautiful for its capacity to evoke intense emotions and inspire awe through experiences of nature's power and vastness. Although always safe, it focuses on the viewer's emotional response to the infinite, dynamic, and fearsome qualities of nature. Derived from the Italian pittoresco, the picturesque means from a picture. The term defines an object or view worthy of being included in a picture. Oofdale Price situated the picturesque between the surreally beautiful and awe-inspiring sublime. It contains a variety of elements and curious details where interesting textures are conveyed in a palette of dark and light that bring these details to life. Together, we see the combinations of each of these aesthetics as the Straw Hats travel through the vast, beautiful white sea that encompasses Skypia's cloud imagery. We see the great dunes and desert land that is Alabasta, split between a massive river acting as an oasis of sorts. And we see the way that Water 7's flooding causes the people to constantly build on the older buildings to survive. It's a city of water and shipwrights, and it connects to the route that leads to Ennie's lobby, further tying in how history between Tom, Frankie, the Straw Hats, and Goldie Roger, along with geography, all tie into fantastical elements of awe-inspiring experiences. Fishman Island and Whole Cake Island are similar in that vein. We have real inspired locations such as Rocha to Spain, Alabasta to Egypt, Water 7 to Venice, Montjoie to Chateau de Chambord, and although like the coral in Iceland, Zo, for instance, is a moving island on top of a massive elephant, difficult to track down. It's deeply tied to myth and nature by its own right of taking imagination to a new literal and fictional height. Zunatia as a name just phonetically sounds pleasant to say. It sounds like a myth on its own. Skypia is the same way. The Umibozo also exists as a real myth, but it's the fact that Oda includes so many of these niche ideas that it makes you wonder how much of the world could one individual dream and still keep it held together by interconnected threads, albeit some threads are much thinner than others. The reveal of Dr. Vegapunk, for instance, is a moment we've all dreamed of and have speculated for years, and in some weird way he's both what you would expect and what you would least expect. Like Albert Einstein, he has a brain so large that it'd be cut and connected over an antenna, and Vegapunk's dream is quite romantic. Too big for his own head. He wants everyone in the world to be connected to his brain, to share his knowledge and essentially form a cloud server worth of information that all possess simultaneously. But of course, the idea is grandiose and in some way terrible in all practicality because it goes against the notion of all being free. If we're bound to a hive mind, even if beneficial to our brain capacity, it leaves little wiggle room for individuality of our own. As crazy as it sounds, while this might work for Vegapunk's split personalities, giving them their distinctive traits, it's still the parts of a single sum, and it wouldn't work for every other person, because they're simply not him. I think what makes Devil Fruits so interesting as a power system is that it lies in how the user commands the ability. Stretching works for Luffy because he's animated. He has an animated personality. Fire works for Ace's hot-headed, impulsive nature. Then on the flip side, a more intricate and varied fruit-like Law's operation suits him the best because they make it their own. I just couldn't see many others with those abilities. The majority of the cast is like that and has a skill tailored toward their identity. So, to bring it back around to Vegapunk, his dream, although well-intentioned, is flawed by the way of Luffy's dream of true freedom. The appeal of Romanticism is the belief an optimism of hoping to prove these places are real, much like Sanji's dream to find the All Blue and Luffy's dream to find the One Piece. From the way each arc reveals an aspect of world building, we begin to believe as the audience that dreams are real and it's okay to believe in them because we're with individuals who make those dreams a reality. Time and time again, we inch closer to understanding this, as who better to embody a foolish dream than someone with the most romantic of them all? To be Pirate King is to be free, but you can't be free until you first feel the shackles of oppression and solitude and ignorance shatter. One Piece is Oda's dream, and part of what makes it feel liberating of an experience is how it promotes freedom in different ways. He isn't necessarily advocating for the world to do away with kings or governments. Rather, he shows what he imagines to be appropriate for each situation. While Alabasta and Dressrosa are countries that almost depend on a monarchy to keep everyone in order, monarchies aren't the root of the issue for why they aren't free. The people of Dressrosa didn't know that they weren't free until the upheaval of Doflamingo's underground operations and connections to Punk Hazard and Wano came crumbling down before them. Their memories were wiped and the loved ones were forgotten. The freedom they needed wasn't wanted, but once they realized through the perspective of those who see from the outside just how secretly screwed over they were being made, they began to see that the root of the troubles was a man's feelings and quest to lash out against the world that had for so long lashed out against him. He wasn't in control of who he was, his destiny, where he came from, until he was able to reverse the situation around and become the puppet master connecting the strings. And Luffy isn't the one who's in charge of making that decision of what to do with these countries. He leaves it up to them, because ultimately he's not a pirate who is all about dictatorship or complete control or leadership or commanding others. He just hates seeing people who aren't free suffer. Even if they don't know it, he can't just stand by and let them continue to exist under that regime. Like Robin's emotional solitude, or Nami's slavery under Larlong, Usopp's cowardice and journey to self-worth, Sanji's familial ties, Chopper's lack of confidence and acceptance, Freaky's lack of self-forgiveness over the death of Tom, Brook's 50-year-long solitude, and Zoro's willingness to never lose. He wants to free them because, at the very least, they have a dream they're willing to seek out, despite their flaws. Those who have no dreams have no will of their own, therefore just aren't on the same level to even present a threat. And it's pitiful. That's why Luffy chose not to raise a fence against Bellamy. He only hit him in the second encounter because Bellamy hurt and mocked Mont Blanc's and Nolan's dream to forcibly try to take that away from them. So at that point, it's no longer just pity. He stood in the way of someone else's dream and will. So in their third encounter at Dressrosa, seeing why he did what he did, Luffy wanted to free Bellamy from Doflamingo's control because by then he had considered him a friend. In essence, relationships become the catalyst for an individual's quest to self-discovery, as there are waters in the world of One Piece that one can't reach on their own. It's the idea of setting forth and reaching those heights together while still having your dream in mind makes the journey to the end worth it. Even if Luffy dies, I believe he would feel at peace with the flow of life and everything around him, not feeling regretful or feeling like he's been left unfulfilled. He's somewhat situated as a balance between yin and yang. His character acts whenever he wants to, not necessarily when he needs to. And no one forces him to make any of his decisions other than the responsibilities of being a captain. He doesn't stay complacent and satisfied with being as is. The promise of the world being always full of something more is what pushes him to move forward. It serves as his inspiration. Even if Luffy doesn't find the One Piece, which at this point we all know he will, but because that's the point, I not only believe his dream, I believe his character represents what it means to be content with the adventure. The series teaches you to relish the moment to moment because that sweetens the prize even more. And that's the essence of adventure. A man's dream never ends, but if you step over others to achieve your own, it's no longer self-discovery, it's just selfish. Freedom is not submitting to rules and authority. Authority in One Piece, like the Gorosei or the world government, the Marines, they're inadequate. They act more sinister and suspect and oppressive than even some pirates do. This dichotomy between pirates and the government is interesting, for there's no perfectly good or evil. It's more about just a nuanced discussion between these two that I believe Oda tries to embed within us. The fact that the world government eyes the one person that stands above all kings on an empty throne naturally upsets the balance of the world. It's more exciting when we think how similar Monkey D. Luffy is to Sun Wukong, or the Monkey God, who wreaked havoc in heaven, aka Luffy defeating an L, who claimed to be a god of Sky Island. The overarching story encompasses bettering the human condition, improving society, the very thing Luffy does almost everywhere he goes, for breaking the expectation for a pirate and doing the job of his natural enemy. All in all, One Piece is all about the romantic themes of glorifying nature, celebrating artistic creativity through landscapes and character designs, emphasizing aesthetic beauty, uncovering spiritual and supernatural elements, seeing vivid sensory sensations, exploring solitude, exoticism, untold history, accepting emotions, personifying nature, and writing the tale of legacy. So when you ask yourself why One Piece appeals to you, I would hope that this video helps to clarify your answer on a deeper level. Because for me, it's a story that takes me out of reality and into an imaginative world where I can unironically feel free.